The name Pennywise sends chills down millions of spines worldwide. But what if I told you the terrifying clown that haunts your nightmares has a story far more disturbing than anything you've seen on screen? Today, we're diving deep into the real origins of IT, and trust me, the truth behind this cosmic horror will change how you view not just the character, but the very nature of fear itself. Stephen King didn't just create Pennywise out of thin air. The master of horror drew inspiration from real-world terrors, ancient mythologies, and psychological phenomena that have plagued humanity for centuries. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Pennywise isn't just another monster, but something far more primal and universal than you ever imagined. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth about clowns themselves. Long before Pennywise danced into our collective nightmares, clowns occupied a strange space in human culture. Originally meant to bring joy and laughter, these painted performers have always carried an undercurrent of unease. There's something inherently unsettling about a face hidden behind layers of makeup, emotions exaggerated beyond human recognition, and intentions obscured by a permanent artificial smile. This phenomenon has a name: coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. But this isn't some modern invention triggered by horror movies. Historical records show that court jesters and theatrical performers wearing masks or heavy makeup have been sources of both entertainment and anxiety for thousands of years. The very act of concealing one's true face while performing for others creates an immediate psychological tension. We're hardwired to read facial expressions for safety cues, and when those signals are artificially manipulated, our brains sound alarm bells. Stephen King understood this primal discomfort when he began crafting IT in the early 1980s. But he didn't stop at exploiting our fear of clowns. He dug deeper, tapping into something far more ancient and universal: the fear of the unknown predator that targets our most vulnerable members, our children. The inspiration for Pennywise came from multiple real-world sources that paint a disturbing picture of how evil can hide in plain sight. King has acknowledged drawing inspiration from serial killers like John Wayne Gacy, who performed as Pogo the Clown at children's parties while secretly murdering young men. The horrifying duality of someone bringing joy by day and committing unspeakable acts by night became a cornerstone of Pennywise's character. But the roots go even deeper. Across cultures and throughout history, mythologies are filled with shape-shifting entities that prey upon human fear. Celtic folklore speaks of creatures that could assume any form to lure victims to their doom. Norse legends tell of beings that fed on terror itself, growing stronger with each scream. These weren't just stories told around campfires. They were attempts to explain the unexplainable evil that sometimes visited communities. King took these universal fears and wrapped them in the familiar yet unsettling package of a clown. But Pennywise isn't really a clown at all. The red balloon, the colorful costume, the exaggerated features are all just camouflage. Underneath lurks something far older and more malevolent than any human serial killer could ever be. The fictional town of Derry, Maine, where IT takes place, serves as more than just a setting. It represents every small town where dark secrets fester beneath a veneer of normalcy. King based Derry on his own experiences growing up in small Maine communities, places where everyone knew everyone else's business. Yet somehow, the worst atrocities could occur while the community looked the other way. This reflects a disturbing reality about how evil operates in the real world. Predators don't announce themselves with obvious warning signs. They integrate into communities, earn trust, and exploit the very systems meant to protect the innocent. The most effective monsters wear human faces and know exactly how to manipulate social expectations to their advantage. Pennywise's cycle of awakening every 27 years isn't arbitrary either. King chose this time frame because it represents roughly one generation, long enough for the horror to fade from active memory, short enough that some survivors might still be alive to remember. This cycle reflects how communities often forget or suppress traumatic events, allowing similar tragedies to repeat when vigilance wanes. The number 27 also carries psychological weight. It's long enough for children to grow into adults, have children of their own, and potentially become complacent about dangers their parents once feared. This generational forgetting is a real phenomenon that allows both fictional and real-world horrors to resurface when communities least expect them. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Pennywise's origin story lies in how King portrays the relationship between the creature and the town itself. Derry doesn't just harbor IT. In many ways, the community enables it. Adults turn blind eyes to disappearances, explain away obvious signs of violence, and collectively participate in a willful ignorance that allows evil to flourish. This dynamic mirrors real-world situations where communities have failed to protect their most vulnerable members. Whether through institutional cover-ups, social pressure to maintain reputations, or simple denial that such horrors could happen in their neighborhoods, human communities have repeatedly demonstrated their capacity to enable the very evils they claim to abhor. King's genius lies in recognizing that the most effective horror doesn't come from external monsters dropping from the sky. It emerges from the failure of human systems, the betrayal of trust, and the realization that the adults who are supposed to protect us might be complicit in our suffering. Pennywise succeeds because Derry allows it to succeed. The shape-shifting nature of IT represents another layer of psychological horror rooted in real human experience. Fear itself is shape-shifting. What terrifies a child differs vastly from what frightens an adult, and what sends one person into panic might leave another completely unmoved. By making his monster capable of assuming any form, King created a villain that could literally become each victim's worst nightmare. This concept reflects genuine psychological research about how fears develop and manifest. Phobias often stem from traumatic experiences, cultural conditioning, or evolutionary survival mechanisms. A creature that could access these deep-seated terrors and use them as weapons represents the ultimate predator, one that grows stronger by feeding on the very thing that makes us most vulnerable. The children at the center of IT's story aren't chosen randomly. They represent different types of vulnerability that exist in every community. Beverly faces abuse at home, making her an easy target that adults might overlook. Ben struggles with obesity and social isolation. Mike deals with racial prejudice in a predominantly white town. Each child carries wounds that make them perfect prey for a creature that feeds on fear and pain. This deliberate targeting of the most vulnerable reflects real-world patterns of predation. Whether we're talking about serial killers, cult leaders, or other dangerous individuals, they consistently seek out victims who are isolated, traumatized, or lacking strong support systems. King's fictional monster operates according to the same principles that guide real-world predators. The power of friendship and collective resistance shown by the Losers Club offers hope, but it's hope earned through tremendous sacrifice and suffering. King doesn't present easy victories or simple solutions. The children succeed not because they're particularly brave or special, but because they refuse to face their fears alone. They discover that evil, no matter how powerful, struggles against genuine human connection and mutual support. This message resonates because it reflects real-world truth about how communities can resist evil. Historical examples show that atrocities are most likely to occur when populations become isolated, divided, or convinced that resistance is futile. The most effective defense against both fictional and real monsters lies in people choosing to stand together despite their differences and fears. The adult portions of King's story reveal another uncomfortable truth. Confronting evil exacts a lasting toll even on those who survive. The Losers Club members who return to Derry as adults have achieved outward success, but they carry invisible scars from their childhood encounter with IT. Some have suppressed their memories entirely, while others struggle with the knowledge that evil can wear friendly faces and operate with impunity in supposedly safe communities. This reflects the real experience of trauma survivors, who often spend decades processing childhood experiences that others might dismiss as imagination or exaggeration. King validates the lasting impact of childhood terror, while showing that healing is possible when survivors find ways to reconnect with others who shared similar experiences. The cosmic horror elements of IT's true nature push beyond typical monster stories into territory that challenges our fundamental assumptions about reality. Pennywise isn't just a supernatural predator. It's described as something that exists outside normal space and time. Something so alien that human minds can barely comprehend its true form. This cosmic horror tradition, influenced by writers like H.P. Lovecraft, suggests that the universe contains forces and entities that operate according to rules we can't understand or control. Yet King grounds even these cosmic elements in recognizably human fears. The terror comes not from incomprehensible alien geometry, but from the violation of safe spaces, the betrayal of trust, and the failure of adults to protect children. Even when dealing with forces beyond human understanding, the most effective horror remains rooted in universal human experiences. The enduring popularity of IT and Pennywise speaks to how effectively King tapped into fears that transcend cultural and generational boundaries. Every society has stories of monsters that prey on children, shapeshifters that deceive their victims, and communities that fail to protect their most vulnerable members. By combining these universal fears with specific American cultural anxieties about suburban safety and institutional trust, King created a monster that feels both timeless and immediate. Modern adaptations of IT continue to find new audiences because the fears it explores haven't disappeared. If anything, contemporary concerns about online predators, institutional abuse scandals, and the manipulation of trust through social media have made Pennywise's methods feel even more relevant. The monster's ability to assume any form and exploit individual vulnerabilities mirrors modern anxieties about how predators use technology and social manipulation to access victims. The real story of Pennywise isn't about a supernatural clown that emerges from sewers every few decades. It's about how evil operates in human communities, how it exploits our vulnerabilities, and how it depends on our collective willingness to look the other way. It's about the courage required to face uncomfortable truths about the people and institutions we trust, and the power we find when we refuse to face those truths alone. Stephen King created more than a monster when he wrote IT. He held up a mirror to humanity's capacity for both evil and resistance, showing us that the most effective defense against any Pennywise isn't supernatural power or individual heroics, but the simple human choice to care for one another despite our fears. In a world where real monsters walk among us wearing human faces, that message has never been more important to remember. The true horror of Pennywise lies not in its shape-shifting abilities or cosmic origins, but in its reflection of very human failures that allow evil to flourish. And perhaps the true hope lies in remembering that those same human connections that IT tries to destroy are also our most powerful weapon against the darkness that sometimes visits our communities.